It's easy to look around and notice everything wrong in your city. In this podcast by Every Neighborhood Partnership, join Grace and Andrew as they invite friends, activists, pastors, leaders, and city workers to discover what's good in the neighborhood. Join us for insightful conversations that will encourage you to see your city and its people in a new way. Hey, welcome back to What's Good in the Neighborhood. Today, we get the opportunity to chat with Jon Hand and Joyce Harrington. Jon is the co-founder of Lead from Transformation Coaching, where they teach leaders how to lead out of their own transformation. Joyce got to be one of their students and learn how to be a coach in that way. This one is a wealth of knowledge, you guys. They both talk about what it looks like to work through our own self-awareness so that we can help others become self-aware in their own leadership. Jon shares his own personal story of how he got to a place where he knew that coaching was his vocational calling. And Joyce shares how coaching has honestly opened up so many new doors for her personally, has changed the way that she leads, even in our own organization here at EMP. This one is really sweet if you're on the cusp of like, should I invest in my own leadership? Should I be a coach or should I be coached? This one will convince you. It convinced me. We know you're going to enjoy it.
All right. Well, welcome to What's Good in the Neighborhood. My name is Andrew File, and we are back on another episode of Soul Care and Leadership. How are we doing, Grace?
We're doing good. This is so fun. We have some friends with us today, and we're doing it all virtual, we are in a new era for What's Good. So it's a lot of fun.
Yes. Finally figuring out how to web stream is changing our life. So this episode, we have Jon Hand and our own Joyce Harrington. I'll do a little intro, and then I'd love for both of you just to say a little bit about who you are, what you spend your time on, anything you'd want to add to what I say. But Jon has been in church and business leadership for a couple decades, and over kind of experiences in his life, launched a coaching practice called Soul Coaching. And that is something that actually Joyce went through. And the leadership experience of figuring out your identity, figuring out how you can support yourself and other leaders is something I've watched. I think I have 3 friends of mine who have all been through what Jon's work, and all have found the process very personally transformative, and then also have given them skills for their leadership. And then Joyce is our own associate director. She's an amazing leader. She's dedicated. She's focused. The leadership she has coming from finance side, but has translated to our organization, creating structure and systems and processes while caring for humans, has just really been really unbelievable. So we're glad to have you on the podcast. Maybe both of you, give us any other context, any other things you'd want to throw out there.
You first, Joyce.
Aw, thanks, Jon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess I would just start by saying thank you for that lovely intro, Andrew. And yeah, let's see, I've been in the professional field for a little over 15 years, and after having some really bad coaching sessions, I realized that there was a need to be able to learn what coaching really was and how it could be helpful. I knew that it had to be helpful. My prior experience said otherwise. So I looked for a coaching opportunity through transformational coaching with Jon Hand. And that greatly impacted me in such a way it completely began to transform my leadership. It began to transform how I operated in human resources and just business overall. And so yeah, I'll just add that.
Jon.
Yeah, Joyce, the coach in me has so many questions. I want to hear more. We should just pause this and do an interview with Joyce, but I'll refrain. Yeah, so I have been in pastoral and leadership development spaces for a long time. And I am the co-founder of Lead from Transformation. That's the name of our leadership development organization. And really, that is like what we are about. Like our website says, helping leaders lead transformations because they're leading from their own transformation. And so we're actually not, say, a coaching organization, although we do coaching and we train people in coaching. We are a transformational organization. We want to help leaders facilitate transformations for others, in others. We want to help leaders experience transformations in themselves. We want to see thousands of leaders leading from their own transformation. We have been doing this work for about 8 years, but more full-time since last summer. So like I'm not quite 1 full year into full-time, like throwing myself into this work with my business partner. He lives in Alberta of Canada. I live in Ontario, Canada. I've been here for 10 years. I'm from the States, grew up in the States, born in the States, raised my family, my 3 kids in the States. And then 10 years ago, my wife, Aimee, and I moved here, and we're liking it. And the summers are great. The winters, it's a little colder than it is in Fresno.
Yes.
A little colder, but we're having a good time. And I'm having fun doing what I feel like I was born to do in a lot of ways. And I'm so glad to hear you, Joyce, say that you found transformational coaching and our Rooted course. You found it helpful. It's like, yes, more of that, Jesus.
That's awesome. Okay, you guys, I love that we've like just jumped right into the deep end of like, here's the impact of coaching. Here's what's so sweet about it. And I love that, honestly, because it helps us like, this is what could happen as a leader if you move through this journey of coaching. So let's like rewind a little bit. And I would love to hear from both of you. First off, like, if you're a leader listening, what is coaching? What could that even look like to either become a coach or to be coached? And then how does the type of coaching that you do, Jon, and that you've experienced, Joyce, how is that distinct from going to like have a mentor or a spiritual director or even a therapist? Like, what's the difference?
Can I just give a working definition of coaching?
Please.
That I use and we use. So coaching it's a process. It's facilitating a process of awakening for the person that's being coached. So coaching is about waking up to knowledge, insight, wisdom that somebody has within themselves, and they probably don't know it. And so it needs to be, they need a place where that can be pulled out of them through a process that enables them to self-discover and to step into greater self-awareness. And this awareness could be internal and external, right? It could be awareness of kind of an external situation that they're facing, that they're too close to. You think about like, if you're staring too close at an impressionist painting, you only see a couple squares of it. But if you step back, you see like, whoa, there's this like whole thing. And we live too close to our lives to see the whole picture. We just can't see it. And so coaching helps somebody like, is kind of like a mirror. It helps them step back and helps them see the whole picture. Or it's like a balcony. It like helps them get up into a balcony so that they can see over things. Or it's like an elevator that takes them to the bottom. It's like they get down to the bottom of things, like get to the root of things. And that could be external and internal. That could be limiting beliefs that they have about themselves or unhelpful patterns that they have in their life that are like holding them back, that they kind of like are on repeat, that they can begin to identify and then create strategies to disrupt those in their life. And it could be about transcending a barrier externally. You're trying to move a business forward, and so you're coming into barriers, and it's like, how do I get through this? And it helps people really who are the expert in their life, because that's what we say about coaching. And this is a nod to something later, but what does it make? How is coaching different than, say, therapy? Coaching assumes that the person we're coaching is the expert on their life. That I, as the coach, am not the expert. I might have some things and tools that could help them, but they are the expert. And so we are facilitating the process of really applying their expertise to their life to help them move forward in the ways that they recognize are important to them. What would you add, Joyce?
Yeah, I completely agree with Jon. And so I won't repeat anything that he said, but I would say to leaders that most leaders and just people in general, like we're all in a phase of our own self-awareness. And so I think of self-awareness as like a spectrum. And so whatever phase on the spectrum we are in our level of self-awareness, a leader knows that there is still more to come. A good leader, right? A leader who is wanting to be able to see change and growth within himself, herself, within their organization, whomever they're leading. And so I believe it was Einstein who said that you can't solve a problem from the same consciousness in which it was created.
Boom.
So coaching helps you to be able to step outside of the consciousness level in where you are right now. It expands it, it adds more depth. And so the coaching facilitates a different level of consciousness for you. And for those of us who are faith-based, it usually allows us to step into Holy Spirit, step into ourselves. The coach just provides the space to do that, some thoughtful questions for you to be able to facilitate that. And hopefully you arrive to a different level of consciousness to be able to lead well.
Yeah, what she said.
That was good. That's good. Connecting the dots, like as you think about, Jon, as you introed why you're about transformation for leaders, how is coaching, like as a leader, how is me as a coach, or how's the process you're trying to take folks through? How does that change a coach? What's transformational for becoming a coach or going through the coaching process, not just having a coach?
Yeah. One of the questions you had asked, like in the written questions, is like, why did you get into coaching? And I got into coaching. I'm answering your question. I got into coaching because in my mid-30s, I had a nervous breakdown, and I was leading a church at the time, and it was fast growing, and I'm in the middle, and I'm directing everything, and I'm, supporting everything, and I'm the hub of everything. And I felt like at the time I was like, man, why is everything always coming, like resting on my shoulders, and the burden of this is so heavy? And it led to burnout. But what I didn't realize, talk about consciousness, Joyce, what I didn't realize was I was not conscious of how I was a control freak. So I had put myself in the middle of everything instead of releasing and empowering people and giving them authorities to make decisions, etc. It's like all coming back on me. And then I feel like I'm a victim of it. It's like, oh, this is so heavy. And how come I have to do everything? Because I was a control freak. That's why I had to, I was doing everything because of that. I didn't realize that. And so one of the best days of my 30s was the day that I had a nervous breakdown and I couldn't get out of bed. And I felt completely impotent and unable to do my job. And it was scary. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me in my 30s. It was so great and terrible, as these things are. Yeah. But what it did is it woke me up to these things in me, these uninspected beliefs and patterns that I was carrying that I didn't know were there. And so it set me on a trajectory to really start to figure out what the heck is going on, and why do I have these patterns on repeat in my life that kind of lead me back to the same result again and again and again. And I got introduced to coaching in the process of that. And so I started taking some coaching courses, and I realized, oh my gosh, as a controlling top-down oriented person whose leadership style was very much like shaped that way by my generation. Coaching was this embodied practice of actually getting myself out of the way and learning how to turn off my judger brain and learning to be present to somebody without predicting what they're going to say, but just to be completely present. But I also had to be present to myself because the things they're saying are triggering thoughts in me and judgments in me about what I think they should do with their life, because I'm an Enneagram 2. And my friends joke about how God and John both love you and have a wonderful plan for your life. Except John's plan is better than God's.
Right.
Right? Like, this is the scale, folks, that we're dealing with, okay? Mm-hmm. So what has coaching done for me to form me? It's a daily practice of getting myself out of the way and not confusing my role, that I'm not God for people. I'm not the one who's going to save them and rescue them, although that would feel great. I'm not the one who's, most relevant in their life and necessary to them. I'm not that. I can play a helpful role to be a mirror, to help them go to the roots, to ask some questions, to facilitate a process, to give some input, but I'm not the center of the stage here. They are. And that has profoundly impacted and shaped me and my character. And then I've learned more about neuroscience and the power that happens when we are completely present to another person in a non-judgmental way. We're attuned to them and we're helping them. We're co-regulating emotionally with them. And they're over there and I'm over here and I'm playing a part in their life, but I'm helping create a context where they can listen to their life. It's powerful. Where they can take what's unconscious and make it conscious. Where they can hear the voice of God and the Holy Spirit if they're faith-based. And I'm creating a context for that by my presence. But if I'm going to be that way, if I'm going to be that present, guys, I have to do so much work, inner work in me, to be able to be fully there with them and offer that so generously without getting my ego mixed in it and my agenda for them mixed in it. It has felt like a salvation practice. Like, Jesus saves, but this practice has saved me from myself and then maybe formed in me some helpful capacities to be able to journey well with other people and help them, deepen and awaken to what it is that God's doing or life is doing or their soul is doing in them so that they can go from where they are to where they need to be.
Powerful. Yeah, I think our world, as you're sharing, my reflection is man, that is what the world wants, is we so want to be seen and heard, this moment of talking past each other, living in social space. And then even just the counter formation that is for even our churches who, can sometimes be set up on ego and drive and vision and all these things to think that way. As you even went back, did you go back into pastoring from that break? And then how did it shift the way you led? Or you're I gotta take some time away from that?
No, so I did. I took some time off, and in a miraculous way, I had this mystical experiential encounter with Jesus at a inpatient therapeutic retreat for burned out leaders who had hit the wall like me. And I was there with my wife, and God did amazing healing work in my life. And so it was through that experience that it kind of reoriented me and also planted in me a vocational passion. It's something woke up that day that turned into a vocation. And a vocation is born, when we go back to become a guide for a version of our former selves. And so years later, I found myself walking with people who are kind of versions of me, in different ways. and helping facilitate a process as I gained these coaching skills for their transformation and help them get to the roots in their life and help them lead at a higher level. It's empowering other people and releasing control and all the things, coming out from underneath shame and fear. But I did go back into pastoring and it didn't go well. And because I came back so different, I left this like alpha leader, controlling, and there's certain personalities that like that. They're drawn to that, right? That controlling kind of alpha leader, that certainty, and they project all this confidence. And I came back and I was like, I don't know where we need to be. Let's be where God is. Where else do we need to be other than where God is? And where is God? God's right here.
Amen.
Let's
I'm like all
together.
zenned out. And they just looked at me like, what did you do with our pastor? He knew where we were supposed to go, And I'm like, it's okay. We're not in a hurry. They're like, what? What do you mean we're not in a hurry? Like, we've got a world to save. I'm like, no, it's all good. And like, and so I came back so totally different that literally like 30% of my church left over 18 months because they couldn't make the turn.
Yeah.
So it didn't. So the moral of the story is, if
coaching
you get healthy,
is a church growth format pattern.
That's right. If you get healthy, watch out, because it might not go well for you in the short term.
Yes.
In the short term.
At Every Neighborhood Partnership, we believe that strong, vibrant communities start with engaged, empowered residents. But to make that happen, we need your help. EMP is on a mission to connect neighbors, create opportunities for local leadership, and transform neighborhoods through education, collaboration, and advocacy. And every dollar you donate goes directly to supporting programs that make a real difference, whether it's providing land use education, elementary literacy mentoring, or healthy spaces to help kids and families grow. When you donate to Every Neighborhood Partnership, you're not just giving money. You're investing in a future where every neighborhood in Fresno has the tools and resources it needs to thrive. Your contribution, big or small, helps ensure that our communities have a seat at the table in the decisions that affect them most. So, if you believe in students excelling, community members that are healthy and whole, and our neighborhoods thriving, we invite you to make a donation today. It's simple. Just visit everyneighborhood.org or tap the link in the show notes to give. Your support helps develop the next generation of leaders like Fresno depends on it. Donate now to Every Neighborhood Partnership. I'm thinking about my own generation of like the need to have a answer for everything, or have like a one-liner or a tweet or a statement on everything. And we think that that's leadership. Like, if I come with the right thing to say at the right time, and a few people hear me, I'm leading them well. And what I think you just described to us is less answers, more curiosity, like leading with the question. And what you described also is like, that requires a death of your ego. So what do you, when you encounter other leaders that you are coaching, or even Joyce, you too, like as you sit with leaders and you realize pretty quickly, like there's an ego there that we have to address before we do all the rest of the other things that they want to do. How does coaching like cultivate that self-awareness that you were talking about too, Joyce? Like, there are people I'm sure that sit down with y'all that are like, you're like, oh my goodness. Like, on a scale of 1 to 10 self-awareness, we're at a 1, like, or we're at a 2. Like, how, and I think sometimes too, at least I make the assumption that self-awareness is just something you have or you don't have. Like, either you got it or you don't got it. But the fact that you two are existing to cultivate that in somebody, how does that happen? What does that look like, especially for your alpha leaders that are like all guns blazing, like, let's go. What am I doing in this coaching session right now?
I'm going to give that question to Jon. He has a lot more experience with doing.
No, I want to hear, Joyce. I want to hear, please.
Oh, gosh. Well, in my short tenure of coaching specifically, so the way that we were taught through Lead for Transformation, which I highly recommend. So there are a number of postures, internal postures that as a coach, we need to hold for ourselves in order to create that space for someone, for a leader, for someone who's less self-aware. And so for me, some of those postures that really stood out and then begin to coat the atmosphere of the coaching space. One of the postures that was taught through Lead from Transformation is we lead from our own transformation. And so a commitment to our own transformation first. One of the other ones that really resonated with me and just stuck with me the entire time as a recovering people pleaser is that to love deeply without taking responsibility for other people's decisions. And so holding those two postures as a Christian, and that's important to me because I think in the context of faith, of a person living out their faith and being in these leadership spaces, there can be some overlap of what is considered good information that's biblically based as opposed to practical tools to help a person get through a certain season, a transitional phase that they're in right now. And so by holding on to these postures when dealing or just speaking and creating a coaching environment for someone who is lower on the scale of self-awareness, I could be triggered as a coach in that session because I'm reminded of when I was less self-aware. So then I start judging the person for their lack of self-awareness. Like, can't you see? So someone could be, making a statement that as a external viewer, I'm the coach, right? Or anyone else that this person is leading, we can clearly see where this person is missing the mark, but they're the only one who isn't seeing it. As a coach, I'm not judging that person because of the training that I've gone through to be able to check my own judgment when I've judged myself for the same thing, when I've judged myself harshly for when I thought other people were laughing at me because they saw something that I didn't see.
Right.
And so in those coaching spaces, when you've dealt with when you've worked through your own triggers, because in coaching, I highly, highly recommend Lead from Transformation. And this is not, I'm not being paid to say this, okay?
John just demoed you. Yeah.
Well, you can send us the invoice following this conversation, Joyce.
The reason I say this is because if you're coaching a leader, they're going to feel if you're judging them. They're going to feel everything that you as a coach, even if you're not saying it with your mouth, they're going to feel that this is not a safe space for me. It's not a place where I can open up and become more self-aware because whatever you're holding internally, spiritually, that other person is going to feel it. And so by going through the training and being able to be tested through the process for our own triggers, our own insecurities, our own fears, the things that we've not yet overcome, you're going to either bleed that onto the person who you think you're helping, and they're never going to book an appointment with you again, or you're going to have to face the issues that you currently hold and then be able to work through it. So my very long answer to that is work on your own stuff first before you try to be a coach and help someone to become more self-aware. Recognize where you're not self-aware.
It's so good. So there was a study that was contained in a research, it's an academic text called Nonverbal Communication and Human Interaction by Knapp and Hall. And they said in their book that 60 to 80% of communication is nonverbal. So nonverbal communication represents 60 to 80% of the emotional impact of human connection, relationships, and communication. And so that's why in coaching, the basis of coaching is self-awareness. You have to be self-aware. You have to know when you're being triggered. You have to know what is the look on your face. You have to you have to know like what projection, like, do I have a resting, not so nice face, or do I,
Yes.
do I have a, am I projecting a sense of like, I'm anticipating, I'm hopeful here, I'm believing in you in terms of how I communicate in my facial expressions, or am I judging you, which shows up in your eyes? It's like you said something and now my eyes, you can read in my eyes, and it's implicit and unconscious that I'm judging you and I disagree with you, and I'm activated emotionally by you. They can feel that. And if I'm not self-aware, and if I don't know what's going on in me, then I'm going to present to them something that will actually cause them to shrink versus blossom. Because they might not know it in their prefrontal cortex, but they will know it and feel it in their amygdala, what's going on in that coaching session. If I'm not aware of that, then I can't help create a context for them to come out. So the soul's like a wild animal. Like you have to coax it out, and you have to create a condition for it to show up, because that's where it gets light and truth. And that's where it gets, loved. That's where it gets all that, and seen and attuned to. And we call that coaching presence. And so the coach has to, if you want to like send yourself to self-awareness boot camp, go train to be a coach. And then on the coaching side, when somebody comes in who's not self-aware, coaching is so non-judgmental. We just meet them where they're at and invite them through the process, through the questions, invite them to explore, what would it look like if you were curious about that? What do you make of that? Oh, you think maybe there's some fear. Oh, well, be curious about that fear. What does that fear say? What is it telling you? Where does it show up in your body? Like, again, you're just helping them grow in the awareness and curiosity to be really curious about themselves. And the fun part about coaching versus therapy is people show up in coaching because they're ready. They're ready. They're actually going to pay you to help facilitate this process. So they are ready to go. It's like, help me go. I want to blast off. I want to be a rocket. Help me get there. And that doesn't always necessarily the starting point for somebody who's entering therapy.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Do you have people sometimes that show up that like just have like a tangible problem that they want to solve? Like, I have these two people that I work with and they're really difficult. Like, help me, like coach me through that, or do you notice that most of your clients come in and they're thinking more holistically about their own leadership? Like, I know sometimes in therapy, it's like you come with, this is the problem, and you end up leaving being like, oh, actually it's me, or it's this litany of other things.
Yeah. No, that happens a lot. Like, because coaching's about helping people get to the roots, like get to have a deeper, curious understanding of what is going on in you. It's not diagnosing what's going on in them. Maybe that's more like therapy, but it's helping them have a safe context for them to explore what's going on and to process that with somebody who kind of knows what they're doing from a coaching perspective, and who may have some wisdom to share in a very open-handed way with that person. But I agree. I think it's like helping people see that there's more there. And I think actually, Joyce, you have a cool story about this from what I remember that happened in Rooted, where you were being coached and you were like, you just had this like, whoa, moment. Am I making that up?
No, you are not making it up. It was a catalyst. It was a transforming moment. It changed everything. And I have never been the same since.
Whoa.
Yeah. I was not aware of, I went into a coaching session and, it was something very basic. And so to Grace's question about the types of coaching questions that may come through, something tangible, some practical thing or purpose. Yeah, I started off with a tangible, simple, or what I thought it was because I was unaware. And I didn't realize the extent to which coaching actually could be transformational. So I had like a head level, superficial idea of what coaching could be. again, from my intro, I had a previous coaching session that was horrible. And so my definition and my experience of coaching was very limited. And I had no concept the extent and transformational ability that coaching offered. And so, yes, Jon, I did go into that session with something more tangible, more surface level, and we went all the way deep. So that coach just brought out limiting beliefs that I had, that I was holding on to for what my daughter is 20. So for 20 years, I had been holding on to this narrative about myself, my identity and who I was, how I had to show up in the world. This was holding me in this place, and I had no idea. I had no idea until the coach was being very observant, great listener, mirroring back what I was presenting. And she asked me one question, and it just broke everything. All of a sudden, I was aware. I was aware of why I was holding on to this idea of myself. Immediately was transported back to when I began, and the clarity surrounding, I didn't need to hold on to this anymore. This idea, this concept of myself, this way I was showing up in the world, and it was not only not serving me, but it was hindering me from moving forward in my life. So that's the power that coaching can have. I could say that from experience, not just from reading a book. And so, yeah.
Well, and I think that's why we wanted to have you both on, because I've seen that, like, just to back that up, right? Like, I've seen that switch flip this year for you, Joyce, and like the joy, the freedom, the like, oh, this is what I'm about now. This is what I don't need to hold on to. And so it's been fun to watch that. Ever wondered what makes your neighborhood unique, or the history of your city that shapes the places you love? Well, now you can explore the city like never before, right from your own car, using the Voice Map app. Introducing Every Neighborhood Partnerships Drive Tour, a self-guided audio tour that brings your community's history, landmarks, and stories to life. As you drive through local streets, EMP's Drive Tour will guide you with fascinating insights from people, places, and events that have shaped your neighborhood. Whether you're discovering hidden gems, learning about community activism, or simply enjoying a fresh perspective on familiar places, this tour is a great way to connect to your community in a whole new way. So what are you waiting for? Tap into Every Neighborhood Partnership Drive Tour today on VoiceMap and get to know your community like never before. Download the VoiceMap app, search for Every Neighborhood Partnership Tour, and start exploring today. Fresno's story is waiting to be discovered. I would love, as we begin to kind of wrap up, but like we haven't really got to the faith side, like how, so context, I've had a coach this last year, executive coach, board blessed me with that. It's been amazing. Every time I walk into session, I have no ideas. I'm stuck. I'm confused. And then half the time we talk about the thing, like you said, Joyce, that you came in for, half the time we go somewhere else that it's the issue under the issue that I never realized I had. And then every time I leave, like, oh, that was so good. It's just so good to be able to talk through somebody and really think deeply about my life, the work I do, just where I'm at in the moment, right? But I think coaching to me can have this, like, I don't know, for some reason, the image for me is like it's very bro, life coach, everything. We're in a therapeutic age, right? Where everything's like, be your best self. But I know what sets your work apart, Jon, and is like that Jesus and the Spirit is in the mix of this. So as you think about the difference of how you've gone about, integrating your pastoral experience, your faith, what coaching could be, what does that mix look like, or what are you hoping God does in that space?
Yeah, well, God does so much in that space. So whether I'm coaching somebody who's a Christian or not, and I do both, we start with the premise that we're never coaching alone, because we're not. So it's not just me and the person I'm coaching. It's like me and the Holy Spirit and the person I'm coaching. And I'm coaching always, whether the person I'm coaching knows it, agrees with it or not, in the thick presence of Christ, always. And so that gives me a heightened level of awareness that as I coach, that the Spirit's doing something here, and I'm going to have not expectation, but anticipation that something good and beautiful. There's a conspiracy of the Spirit of Jesus in everybody's life to liberate them from that which binds them. And I mean, that's what happened with Joyce. She got liberated from something that was binding her. But it's like, I'm sorry, I'm a good coach, but I'm not that good. It's like, I can't do that.
Right.
So I can facilitate through my nonverbal and through my presence and through my questions and through curiosity and through some wisdom. I can facilitate a context where the Holy Spirit can surgically do whatever the Holy Spirit needs to do to liberate somebody from a defeating belief or a limiting belief or from shame or from fears. Or from like just a self-defeating accusation that keeps ringing in their head again and again and has for the last 20 years. And I'm not powerful enough to somehow make all that go away, but I can create an environment that is attuned to and is aware of the work that the Spirit may be doing or may want to do. And sometimes I'm aware of it. Sometimes I get a tingling in my body, like in my lower back. And for me, I've learned that that's like this weird, I don't know what's going on back there, but this weird signal that the Spirit's doing something. Pay attention, partner well, be a conduit. And other times I have no idea what's going on. I don't see visible manifestations or signs, and there's not tears, or there's not, somebody who's really like just having some kind of in the moment breakthrough. And so I don't know. But it's none of my business. I'm not trying to control for that. I'm not trying to manufacture it. I want to be present. And then sometimes people come back the next time and they're like, after our session, I couldn't stop thinking about it. And like, I had this awareness and like, I had this encounter with Jesus even. And it's like, right. Great. You know what I mean? But like, I didn't get to magic that. I just, and being present. And sometimes amazing things happen. I hear a lot people say, I've never told anybody this, and I've never thought this. And they have this moment of, it doesn't have to be that way, or this moment of revelation. So I talk about transformation happens at the intersection of readiness and revelation. Boop. And I get to be on the front lines of that. I don't create it, but I'm assuming that the Spirit's at work. And so revelation, that's what Jesus provides. Readiness, that's what they provide. Boom, transformation.
What I hear though is that you are creating a space that you recognize as like holy ground or sacred space. Like you know that this is a space where things can happen. And that's really, really beautiful.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to make it happen, but it can happen. Yeah. And it does happen. And then the other, if I'm coaching somebody explicitly Christian, then I will curate spiritual practices for their goal. So like they come in with a goal that say they want to grow in confidence. It's like, great. So we do integrative work. So it's holistic. And we use a SPIRE model, which is like the holistic person: spiritual, physical, intellectual, relational, and emotional. And so I'm helping them think about what are the holistic ways that they can partner with themselves and with Jesus to deepen in the areas that they want to see grow in their life. And so that means we might use Enneagram to help them in that self-awareness. Or we might use spiritual practices that they can practice to help them grow that confidence and get to the root of what is the belief that they have about themselves that's keeping them from being confident and speaking up. And so we can facilitate explicit kind of homework for like go and reflect on these things, grow in your awareness, and invite the Spirit of Jesus into these places of real tenderness and these places of where you're experiencing accusation from that inner critic protector, and some practices to help you bolster your capacity to be able to bring truth to that, as a part of like a coaching, explicit coaching spiritual practice.
I would love to hear from both of you as we end. If there's a leader that's listening and maybe they're where you are at, Jon, like burnt, tired, not sure what to do next or where to go next, what would be your encouragement to them? Maybe even outside of like get a coach, but more so like what would be their next step? Like what type of inventory maybe should they be taking, or what can they analyze in their own lives maybe before even like the call to the coach, or maybe it is the call to the coach, I'm not sure. But if you guys want to expand on that a little bit, just, what's your encouragement to the pastor, the ministry leader, the nonprofit worker listening?
What would you say, Joyce?
Yeah, I would say that even if you, where you are right now, it's okay to be there. And just the recognition that I'm in a place where I feel this urge to grow, or I feel this urge to be curious, or I feel this desire to be more, or whatever, fill in the blank. Like if you're feeling that, like there is hope. Like you can grow even 10%, 100%. You can grow from where you are right now. I would say that the feeling of being unsettled and being uncomfortable is the beginning of your next great move. And so sit in that. If you're a journaler, journal or call a coach. I will say that because I'm a witness to its power. But just continue to be curious, and it's okay to not be in a finished state. As a leader, you know that there is no finished state, and to just lean into that and take a next step by calling a coach or a trusted friend or a trusted friend.
I love that. I would say what was said to me at a very vulnerable moment in my life when I felt like just so afraid to even go to bed because I was so afraid I was going to wake up again with another panic attack at 3 a.m. And it sounds simple, but I have said this to myself, I'm not kidding, like a million times since 2012. And it's a little quote from Julian of Norwich. All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. And if you're, who Grace described, all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. It's true. It will be well. And then if you go to, shameless plug, if you go to our website, www.lftleadership.com, on our website, if you scroll down, there's these like 4 stages of transformation, and we call it seeds, roots, shoots, and fruit. And if I had more time, it's based on the hero's journey, and I could go into all of that. It's really fun. But the first stage is seeds, and it says the easily ignored quiet invitations calling leaders towards new growth. And that's exactly what Joyce said. It's like, if that's you, instead of seeing this weariness as just weariness, instead of seeing your resentment and your anger as somebody else has done something to you, instead of seeing, the discouragement that you face as this plot against you, could you see it as a quiet, easily ignored invitation towards new growth? Could you see it as something that is awakening you and is calling you and in telling you it doesn't have to be this way, and it won't be forever, but change is needed, and that's hard. And it's possible. And so it's an invitation to awakening. That's exactly what it is. Can you think of anything more hopeful? I can't. I can't, because it is. So that's what I would say. And then I would say, yeah, you can't do it alone. So I'm biased. I'm owning that I'm a coach. Okay. So you could do it with me or Joyce, but you can't do it. You can't do it alone. And like, there's no way you can get out of this pit alone. And that is one of the God's greatest graces in your life, that you can't do it alone. And so, who are the people that can journey with you that you can go to and say, I'm in the pit and I don't know what to do. And like, that's how you start responding to the quiet, easily missed invitations. It usually sounds like, I don't know what to do.
Thank you guys so much. I'm feeling refreshed personally, just listening to you guys, and I'm a little bit inspired. I'm like, should I become a coach?
Yeah.
I think I may have mentioned this.
Again was
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, literally. Thank you both so much for your time and doing a little bit of coaching yourselves, even on this call. We're really grateful. We are going to push everybody to the website. And if they want to find out more, they can use your contact page there. Thank you guys so much. We're really
Thank you
grateful.
so much.
you.
Yeah.
This was
appreciate
fun.
the work. And thanks for, John, you know this, but thanks for having a footprint in Fresno through so many leaders, so many random connections. But I know you're changing the leadership landscape of our city. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you. This is great. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to find out more about EMP, you can visit us at everyneighborhood.org or follow us at EMP Fresno. Every Neighborhood Partnership and this podcast exists to activate, equip, mobilize, and transform here in Fresno and beyond. If you liked what you've heard, please share and review what's good in the neighborhood wherever you listen. We'll see you next time.